Hello everyone, happy to see you all in yet another video. So in today's video we are going to talk about something that's kind of very famous right now in the market. So recently we participated in a codathon competition, and what we noticed is that a lot of people are porting the new technology that's coming with all the cloud services. So especially the service that we are going to talk about today is about the translating text between languages in a cloud. So what is so exciting about this is most of the people bring in new ideas to the table, but when we actually see what the technology stack that they have used in the background, we see that they are basically using this existing cloud services. They are not actually building anything ground up. So I recently came across an interesting use case wherein the particular team that brought in this idea, what they brought in was they used this existing technology to help customer support representative. So even though they were trying to include this as a part of their project work, wherein they are trying to help the clients with this technology, but if you think about it, it's not a big groundbreaking um, innovation. It's an already existing innovation which they have ported for their use case. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this is actually being done in real time, and how we can use these APIs effectively and suit our use. So let's start with Amazon Web Services first. First step is we need to create a new account. So this is actually hands-on on how we need to use this service. So first thing is we need to create a service. So let's start with the creating a free account, right? So Amazon has this facility where we could create a free service, and we could use it for 12 months, and they have some limitations for each um, month. So we can take a look at what is the limitations that we have, and once we have the service up and running, we could continuously run this in cloud, and we could call this API service whenever we require. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we could either use an existing ID that we already have, or use a new ID, create a new ID for this salon. I'm gonna create a new ID. um, so this is what we need to do. We need to start click on create a new AWS account, then fill out your details that you want. So you can pass in your email address, password, confirm password. So remember the passwords. So fill out the details and let's continue. Okay, a few quick things to note here. So it will actually ask you for a particular format the password. So these are the criteria. So it should be minimum 8 characters, and it should include at least three of the below items. So it should either have a lowercase, uppercase, non-alphanumeric symbols, numbers. So you should either have any at least three of from this list. So, and also cannot be identical to your AWS account name or email address. So the password can't be the same as your email address or the account name. Password has to be unique. So these are the things that you need to take care. So let me go ahead and set up my own password. Let's go ahead and submit the password. So your Amazon service account is getting created. So it's asking for some of our contact information. Let's fill out the details. So if you doesn't once here, if you filled out the details, let's go ahead and click account and create account and continue. Okay, now it will ask for your credit or debit card at this point. So it's just it will detect 1 rupee. So looks like now they have revised it. It's 2 rupees. So since it's my country is India, I selected India, so it's actually doing it in Indian rupees. So it will detect 2 rupees, and then it will refund it within a day. But so as long as you are within your limits, so you are not exceeding your limits, it will not you will not have, it will not charge you. But if you exceed the limit or the usage limit, or if you exceed the number of months, the free number of months, that's like 12 months for a free tier service. So if you exceed that, then it will start charging you. So the charges will be applicable, the bill will be generated, and you will have to pay your charges yourself. But so it will not auto detect or anything, like like an EMI or anything. It will not auto detect your amount, so you can uh, enroll it without worrying about it. So you let me go ahead and fill out these details. So now it's taking me to the payment page. So like I said, it will charge us 2 rupees basically to start with, and then it will refund it within a day. Let me fill out the OTP. Voila, I think we got what we wanted. Yeah, we got what we wanted. Let's move on. So once you fill out your phone number and submit that, uh, so it will send you a code to verify your phone number. So I'm gonna submit it. So it says verified successfully. I'm gonna continue. Okay. So here it's important what we select. So here we need to go for a basic plan. So we go for a basic plan here. So we are logged in successfully into Amazon Web Services. So right now we are in the services. Um, so it's talking about various free services that we have. So we have we can launch a Linux virtual machine. We can launch a Windows virtual machine. We can deploy Docker, launch a host a website. We could launch a WordPress website, a web application, store and retrieve file using the storage facilities, batch upload files to the cloud. We have databases, create a query, NoSQL databases. So NoSQL databases are kind of the trending future right now, rather than people are companies and people are moving away from relational databases and they are moving into NoSQL databases. So that's different things that you can get. And what we need to go and just go into your console. Click here to sign into your console. There could be multiple use cases where we need to use this particular Amazon Web Services. So one of the use cases is given here. So we are talking about an international luggage manufacturing firm. So what they are trying to understand is what people are talking about, their products reviews, especially in their local market language, say for example French. So in French, people buy their product and what they're in their reviews in French, so they want to understand what they are saying in French. So basically they're translating the French language to using this console. They will translate the French language to English. This is a tool that this hands-on that Amazon itself is providing for us to learn how to use this, because they want more people to use this tool, their tool, so that they can bring in more customers to their services. So they're giving all the tools that is required for us to learn this tool and then use this. So the first thing that we need to do is, once we go into the console, you need to type translate in the search bar and select for Amazon Translate. So I'm gonna go ahead and log in into my user service here. Since I already created an account here, so I'm gonna use that account. So earlier I've created this account, use this mail ID to create an AWS account. So I'm just gonna use that same password that I had used to create the account. Like the tutorial says, let's go ahead and now type translate in the search bar and select the Amazon Translate. service. Let's take a look at the some of the related services. So before we go into text to one language to another language, so here is what we have, something called Amazon Poly. So what it is basically is it's a service that turns a text into a speech. So if in case you want to create an lifelike system which want your text to convert your text into an actual voice, this is a service that can help you. And there is one more service that's exactly opposite of what we're talking about here. So that's Amazon Transcribe. So what it basically does is, it takes a user's particular voice and then converts it into actual text. So these are two services that are related to this. Before we actually start building our API, let's look at the design, how it works within the system. So this is what is happening inside the black box. So basically it takes your text as an English language, and then it takes and converts that into an encoded message. So this LSTM model, the RNN, recurrent neural network model, is access an encoder, and then converts this into an encoded state. And then from there, you basically converts it. Then encoded message is actually passed on to another recurrent neural network, and this neural network is trained with a different set of inputs, which is not the same language as the first neural network. The first neural network, if it is trained with one language, the second neural network RNN is basically trained with another language. So that's the difference between the first RNN and the second RNN. So they are trained with different languages, and this encoded information is passed on as input to the next RNN. So the next RNN basically takes that encoded information and then decodes it into a different language. So basically that's what happens. um, so this is basically the same technology that's used in chatbots as well. So this is an example that's given as chatbot. So the user is basically asking, what shall I do? And the response is basically composed as, frankly my dear, I don't give a damn. So that's something that is actually a chat conversation that's happening between a man and a machine. So it's trained that way so that it can respond that way. So I'm gonna launch a real-time instance to see how good this is. So basically, I don't understand Spanish, so I'm just gonna copy this and see if this can convert my Spanish text into English. So I could either choose which language I'm going to feed as input, but the system is well trained in all the languages, so I don't even have to give which language it is. It's gonna auto detect my language and it can process it. Right. Yeah, here we go. So I pasted this Spanish text, and I frankly don't know what is there in this text, so I don't understand what is it. But this tool is actually helping me convert that language that I don't understand into a language that I understand. So basically, it's translating it to, hey, my name is Anna, I'm 25 years old, I live in Miami, Florida with my husband and two children. I have son in kindergarten, a daughter in first grade. They both go to public school, and so it's basically something about a person named Anna. So if I see in the left hand side, I clearly have no understanding of what is happening. Spanish, I have no idea. But because of this effective tool, which is based on a machine learning, this is something that was never possible before machine learning. So this is possible only after machine learning came into existence, and the cloud services that we have actually made it very um, reachable for even common people. So if you see here, it's basically telling us, it's detected the language Spanish. So that is true because we copied it from a website that's a tutorial for Spanish readers. So if I scroll below, there's something interesting down there. So if you see, it talks about how I can integrate this with an application. So basically, how what it does is, so this is how you need to send information into this API. So it needs to be in JSON format and with a key value pair with the text keyword. You need to pass on all the text, and then you need to select the source language code. And in this case I can mention auto because the model is trained in different languages, and it will be able to auto detect what language the text is gonna come in. And then the target language that I want, that is very important. It needs to be specific so that it can convert into that particular language and return me the response. So this is a JSON request that we are supposed to submit into the server API, and this is the JSON response that you will get in return from the API. So this is important because if you want to read it, you need to use these keys basically to understand which component lies in which key, under which key. So since this comes as a key value pair, it's important that our application understands that something that comes under this translated text key is actually the translated text. And then if you want to understand what is the actual source language, so in some cases even the user won't know what it is, right? Say for example, if he has a customer support executive who is trying to serve a customer, and he doesn't know what is the language of the person who has called for help. And first of all, if he wanted to understand what is actually the language of that person, he can take a look at this particular segment. This key value pair actually tells us what is the language. Yes, basically that means Spanish. And then target language is obvious, of course we know that already, but it's still coming back as to us because to give us an understanding, that this is what requested and this is what we got back. So this is how we integrate with an existing application. Maybe later in another episode we can take a look at how to create a simple application, maybe an Android application or a web application that can actually submit this text in this format, a JSON format, into this API, into this web services, and get a response from it and see how the response looks. But for now, let's go ahead and jump into how to create our own custom models where we can train our own data set. Say for example, if I want to train my language which is not listed among one of the languages that is already in cloud service, which could be like a very minority language which is like spoken by very few people. So let's see how we can create our own custom model and convert that language to probably English, which is the most common language used by people. So let's see how we can build our own model. So these are pre-built models that are already trained from scratch, and we don't have to do anything basically, right? We did not do anything here. We just came in, put in our inputs, and it gave us output because it's already trained to handle Spanish or any commonly used languages. So there is a big list of languages given here, so that it can auto detect and convert, right? And let's assume that we have a language that is not in this list, right? And how do we build our own custom models, train it so that we can uh, use it. So in the next video, let's take a look um, at how we can create our own custom models which can translate this minority language which is not already let's assume it's not already pre-trained in this Amazon cloud services. We are gonna feed us a bunch of data sets that is created in this minority language to English translation, and then we pass in that custom data set to this custom models and create our own custom translations.